Coming up on today's show, the Ravens took interest in a trade for Brian Burns. We'll give you all the details on that scoop coming up in just a matter of moments. Also, Keaton Mitchell, what a day the undrafted rookie free agent had yesterday. We'll get a reaction to his performance. And are the Ravens the best team in the NFL? They're red hot right now. They've won 4 in a row. We will show you what people have to say about this Baltimore Ravens team coming up right here on Ravens Rundown. Before we do, it is Victory Monday. What a win for this Ravens team yesterday. And this team's now 7-2. Vibes are good, folks. Spam W in the comments section. I need to see at least 100 W's to celebrate that Ravens win. We'll get started with today's show. A new report is out that back on trade deadline day last week, the Ravens were very active on the phone, but ultimately nothing got done. We heard about Derrick Henry and Chase Young, and now a new report from ESPN's Adam Schefter says the Ravens picked up the phone and called the Panthers about a trade for Brian Burns, but the Panthers were not interested. More from Schefter. The Baltimore Ravens also reached out to the Panthers about Burns, according to sources, but the Panthers shut down those teams just as quickly as they inquired and had no intention of trading the coveted Burns, according to sources. Now, I'll say this much. Now, you look at where the Ravens are at with the pass rush. David Ojabo and Odafe Owe have missed more games than they've played so far this season. Tyus Bowser is nowhere to be found these days. So, yes, it would have been nice to have Brian Burns. You can't have too many pass rushers. But the truth of the matter, if the Panthers were not even picking up the phone for Brian Burns, then that tells me that if you would have gotten their attention, it probably would have been too much of the price tag to make a trade anyway for Brian Burns as is. I mean, you think about it, we heard last year that the Panthers turned down 2 first-round picks from the Rams for Brian Burns. So I'm not losing sleep over this. I can live without making that Brian Burns trade, especially when we consider how well this group is performing right now. The defensive rankings are about as good as you could ask for. Points per game, first in the league. Yards per game, second. Red zone scoring, first. Opponent touchdowns per game, first. Sack percentage, which would be a big part of where Brian Burns would come in, you're third in the league. So things are going pretty well. I would say that even though the Ravens made the call for Brian Burns and showed interest, it worked out just fine. Sure, you can never have too many pass rushers, but things worked out okay that you didn't have to give up the farm to bring him in, and this team looks well-rounded and looks like a complete team. More of that coming up later. But what do you guys think about the idea of Brian Burns? Should Baltimore have gotten a deal done to bring him to Carolina or bring him to Baltimore? What do you guys think? Our pinned comment today. Y for yes, in for no. Should the Ravens have traded for Brian Burns? Let us know what you think. Yesterday, a star was born in Baltimore as rookie undrafted free agent Keaton Mitchell stole the show in the win over the Seattle Seahawks yesterday. Was fantastic. In 9 carries, he was able to pick up 138 total yards, over 15 yards per play, including a touchdown score. Keaton Mitchell was fantastic. And to even take things a step further of how good he was, the thing that stood out to me specifically was how well he was after contact. This isn't a very big guy in Keaton Mitchell, and yet he wasn't afraid to go after these guys. The stat for him that stood out among the rest, Keaton Mitchell had more yards after contact, 132 to be exact. More yards than any other running back had for total yards in the entire NFL in Week 9. Isn't that crazy to think about? More yards after contact than any other running back had for total yards. Just nuts how well this guy played. More on Keaton Mitchell here in just a second, but first, let's tell you about today's sponsor, Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for tickets. The best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed. Download Game Time, create an account, get $20 off when you use the promo code RAVENSCHAT to buy your tickets today. You get to see what your seat looks like and get that visual to see if that seat is for you. And you can check out within a matter of moments whether you're using Apple Pay or Google Pay. They make it very easy for you. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, whether it's games, concerts, comedy shows, theater productions. It's easy to use, and the lowest price is guaranteed. This weekend, I'm headed to my great school, the University of Kansas, in Lawrence this weekend. And you better believe when I go see the Jayhawks win against Manhattan in basketball and then beat those ugly Texas Tech Red Raiders in football, I'm using Game Time to get some cheap tickets, and I'm using promo code RAVENSCHAT. Save some money with me on Game Time. It helps my bottom line as well. Download Game Time today. Promo code RAVENSCHAT, $20 off. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, now we go to the next-gen stats powered by AWS. Here's the chart for you from Keaton Mitchell. As you can see, a lot of green down the field. It was not a fluke at all what we've seen from Keaton Mitchell. And for those of us that were paying attention to him shortly after he arrived, this was the day we've all been waiting for. In fact, John Harbaugh said this. He was talking about how we'll see Keaton Mitchell's role continue to increase in this offense, saying getting an opportunity midseason already, finally gets a chance to make the most of it. It's a guy that we were talking about making sure he got a chance and got some touches. It was something that we all would hope it would happen, and Todd did a great job of making sure it did happen. Now, if you've been watching this show, we told you about Keaton Mitchell from the moment that he was signed as a UDFA and said, watch out. I predicted on that very day that he would make the 53-man roster. And boy, did he ever. He's been great. And throughout training camp and OTAs in the preseason, I said, look at Keaton Mitchell. That guy is something special. The Ravens have somebody really good that nobody knows about in Keaton Mitchell. Right now, he's your number 3 running back behind Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. But based on what I saw yesterday, with speed he brings to the table and how well he is after contact, this is not a diss on Gus or Justice. I'd like to see, personally, Keaton Mitchell be the top running back for this Ravens team. I'd like to see him take over and be the RB1 and let Gus do his thing as the number 2 back like he was before when J.K. Dobbins was around. I think the Ravens would be best off doing that. What do you think? Should Gus be the number 1 back? Do you agree with me? If you do, type K for Keaton Mitchell. If you think it still should be Gus, type G for Gus Edwards. Let us know who you think should be that number 1 running back in the Ravens backfield. Folks, we are very, very close to 13,000 subscribers here on Ravens Rundown. I will kiss your mom or your grandma or whoever if we can get to 13,000 subscribers. I want to get there very badly. So help us out. For daily Ravens rumors, news, live shows, watch parties, mailbags, and more, this is the channel for you. Sub now for free. Sub for dubs. Can't think of a better way to celebrate that Ravens win than subscribing right now. Join the family, and you'll be glad you did. Let's get to 13K today. A lot of hype across the National Football League about your Baltimore Ravens. As people are asking, people are talking, are they the best team in the National Football League through 9 weeks? Let's see what the experts had to say. Let's start with Boomer, not Chris Berman. Boomer Esiason, the other Boomer. He said yesterday on the NFL Today, that show that nobody watches, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL right now. Plain and simple, they are that team. So maybe we will start watching the NFL Today. And then Dan Graziano of ESPN, who has one of the most complicated names in TV, had this to say. He said they're playing better football than anyone in the entire league at the moment. So pretty cool there from Dan Graziano to say that. And then James Palmer, who is with the NFL Broadcast Network, the state-run media organization of the NFL, said it was a statement game for the Ravens, that they sent a message to the rest of the NFL with their performance. So now with the win, what do things look like for the Ravens going forward? Well, the Ravens would be the 2 seed if the playoffs started today. The Chiefs would get the first-round bye, and the Ravens would have to play the Bengals again. Oh, really? The Bengals are playing really good football right now. I don't want to see the Bengals right now, especially first round. You got to be kidding me. Jags would play the Browns. Dolphins would play the Steelers. The standings in the division looks pretty good for the Ravens. at 7-2. Steelers, Browns, and Bengals are all 5-3. If I were to guess right now, we're going to see the Ravens hold serve, win the division. I think the Bengals slide up to number 2. We see the Steelers at 3. Browns finish 4th in the division. Now, knock on wood, but it does seem like the division is in pretty good shape. Barring a collapse from this team, the Ravens pretty much have the AFC North locked down at this point. It is their division to lose. They're in very good shape. Now, the discussion is about getting the number 1 seed because you'll make life a lot easier on yourselves if you get that 1 seed. That's a playoff win already in your back pocket. And that's another team you avoid as you go through this next step. Here's what you have ahead. Cleveland, Cincinnati, divisional games are always tough. Chargers and Rams both have explosive offenses. The Jags are a very good football team. San Francisco's good. Miami's good. Pittsburgh is good. Every one of these teams you're seeing on your screen could potentially be a playoff team. It is going to get very tough in the second half of the season. What will the Ravens' final record be? If they get 13 wins, now we're cooking with bacon grease. That's the magic number. If we're getting 13, I'm feeling very good. What's the final record for the Ravens? Put in the comment section. Let me know. Hit me up on X, formerly known as the Twitter, owned by Sir Elon Musk. At Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there. I'll see you next time on this very program called Ravens Rundown.